Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be tackling something that I think is going to hit home for a lot of our listeners: Alzheimer's caregiving. It's one of those things that's just incredible demanding, can feel really overwhelming for a lot of people. And we wanted to kind of explore a different approach to it, one that you might not have heard of. And we're going to do this all through a single source. It's one source this time, and that is a YouTube video featuring a conversation between a rabbi and a former participant in his Alzheimer's caregiving program. Now, what makes this program a little bit different is that it weaves in Kabbalistic teachings as well as art therapy to help caregivers find a sense of purpose and meaning in what can often be a very difficult journey.
It's really interesting how this program goes beyond just the practical aspects of caregiving, the medical side of things, and really acknowledges the emotional and spiritual toll that Alzheimer's takes on everyone involved.
Yeah. It's not just about managing the symptoms, right? It's really about navigating the emotional and the spiritual hurdles. And in the video, the participant really shares how the program helped them reframe their entire experience, going from feeling completely lost to actually finding a lot of strength and even moments of joy in the midst of all these challenges. And one of the things that they talk about, one of the core concepts, was this idea of a hidden God within challenging situations.
Yeah, that's a very powerful concept. And it really encourages us to sort of look beyond the surface, to see that even in those darkest moments, there's always a deeper meaning. There's a source of strength that's waiting to be uncovered. It's about finding that resilience, that light, even when things feel incredibly tough.
Exactly. And this participant was initially really skeptical, especially about some of the spiritual elements of the program. They even questioned the whole laughter as medicine idea. But, something really shifted for them during their time in this program. And one of the things that they shared that I thought was incredibly powerful was this analogy of piecing together a broken vase. So imagine you have this beautiful vase and it shatters into a million pieces. And I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling after an Alzheimer's diagnosis, where it just feels like your life, your routine, your sense of normalcy has completely shattered. But just like you would meticulously put those vase pieces back together, they talked about how you can kind of piece yourself back together as well.
Yeah, it's a really poignant metaphor for the healing and the growth that can occur. Even when you're faced with such a difficult experience, it's a reminder that we do have that capacity to rebuild, to find wholeness, even when things feel broken.
And to help with that rebuilding, they explored some really interesting techniques. One that stood out to me was tapping acupuncture technique. And they were talking about how they would actually feel heat while they were doing this tapping, almost like a physical manifestation of that emotional tension releasing.
And TAT is really based on the idea that stimulating specific acupressure points while focusing on negative emotions or thoughts can help release those energetic blockages. So, it's got some similarities to practices in other cultures. And it really highlights that we have this innate ability to manage our emotions.
So even if you're someone who's a little skeptical about, tapping on meridian points or things like that, you have that innate ability to manage your emotions. It's about finding what works for you. Another technique that they talked about using was the empty chair technique from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And this one might sound a little out there, but basically you're having a conversation with an empty chair, imagining someone that you need to communicate with sitting there.
It sounds a little strange when you first hear it, but the empty chair technique can be really powerful for gaining new perspectives and working through unresolved issues. It's often used in therapy to help people engage in a dialogue with different parts of themselves, or even with other people in their lives. And it can really foster a deeper understanding and lead to a sense of resolution.
Yeah, it's like giving those different voices in your head a chance to be heard, even the ones that you might normally try to ignore. And it doesn't even have to be in a formal therapy setting. Sometimes just acknowledging those different perspectives within yourself can be really insightful. And of course, you can't talk about finding meaning without talking about Viktor Frankl and his logotherapy principles. And this idea of finding meaning in suffering really resonated with this participant, especially the emphasis on choosing your attitude in the face of challenging circumstances. You're not denying the difficulty, but you're choosing how you're going to respond to it.
Logotherapy is so relevant to this whole conversation, especially in the context of Alzheimer's caregiving. It reminds us that we have that freedom to choose our response. Even in the midst of suffering, we can choose to focus on the negative, or we can actively seek out meaning and purpose. And this participant really embraced that.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting is that their journey with all these different specialists, the rabbi, the art therapist, the NLP practitioner, it kind of mirrors your experience as a listener right now. You're getting insights from multiple experts, just like they did in this program. It's all about gaining that well-rounded understanding by tapping into a variety of approaches and viewpoints.
It's a testament to the value of seeking out diverse perspectives. Just like the participant benefited from all these different specialists, we can gain a richer understanding of Alzheimer's caregiving by exploring these different approaches and insights.
And to kind of bring things full circle, the participant's final art project was an image of a tree, symbolizing growth and evolution. And they even linked it back to the concept of Jacob's ladder, this idea of spiritual ascent.
The tree is such a universal symbol, right? Strength, growth, resilience. Its roots run deep, providing that solid foundation, while its branches reach upward towards the light, constantly growing and evolving. It's a beautiful representation of our own capacity to not just survive, but to thrive, even in the face of adversity.
Beautifully said. We've covered a lot of ground here. But I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to kind of ponder as we go into our break. If Alzheimer's could be seen as a teacher, what lessons might it be offering to both the patient and the caregiver? We'll be back in just a bit to delve deeper into what this all means and how you can apply these insights to your own life. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Reflecting on everything we talked about, I'm really struck by how this participant took what could have been, such a devastating experience and actually found a way to grow from it.
Yeah, it's really about that perspective shift, right? It's not about pretending that Alzheimer's doesn't exist or anything like that, but it's about finding a more empowered way to approach it. Yeah, and they didn't just talk about it. They actually engaged with these techniques. They used that tapping, they had those empty chair conversations, and they made a conscious effort to choose their attitude every day. It's like they created this personalized toolkit to help them navigate this journey.
That's what's so great about all of this, is that it's a framework, but ultimately it's about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
What resonates with you, and then committing to that process.
It reminds me of that quote, "You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it." And I think that's something we can all take to heart, whether we're caregivers or facing any other kind of challenge in life.
Absolutely. And it's not about denying the tough emotions either. This participant talked very openly about their anger, their grief, those moments of just complete overwhelm. They didn't shy away from the realness of it all.
But they also didn't let those emotions define their entire experience. They found those healthy ways to process those feelings, to move through them, and to, ultimately find the light on the other side.
And it's a good reminder for all of us. We all experience those difficult emotions. It's about finding those healthy coping mechanisms, those practices that can help us navigate those moments and come out stronger on the other side.
Now, there's another aspect of their story that I thought was really powerful, and that was the support they found through connecting with others who understood what they were going through.
Yeah.
The rabbi, the specialists, even their cousins who were going through similar things. That sense of community created this safe space for them to share, to process, and to heal.
There's something so validating about shared experience, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm not alone in this. Other people understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And in turn, offering that same empathy and support to others can be incredibly healing as well.
It's like this beautiful cycle of support, right?
Yeah.
A reminder that we don't have to go through these tough times alone. There's strength in those shared experiences, in knowing that there are other people out there who get it.
And I think this participant's story also really highlights this idea of the caregiver as a student, as someone who is constantly learning and growing alongside the person that they're caring for. It's not just about providing care, but about evolving together.
That is such a beautiful way to frame it. It shifts the dynamic from feeling burdened to feeling like you're on this journey of shared growth, even amidst, loss and uncertainty. And remember that image of the tree from their final art project, those deep roots representing strength and resilience, the branches reaching for the light, always growing, always evolving.
It's a perfect symbol for the human capacity to thrive, even in the face of those really big challenges. It's about digging deep, finding that inner strength, and continuously reaching for growth and light, even when things feel dark.
And that really gets to the heart of this whole deep dive, doesn't it? It's about looking beyond the surface, beyond the fear and the uncertainty that so often surrounds Alzheimer's, and finding those unexpected gifts, those opportunities for growth and connection.
Absolutely. It's about shifting our perspective from one of despair to one of possibility, from feeling overwhelmed to feeling empowered, and recognizing that even in the midst of loss, there's still so much to learn, so much to be gained, and so much to cherish.
So beautifully put. And that's what we're going to explore in the final part of our deep dive. How to take all these incredible insights and apply them to your own life, your own unique journey. We'll be right back.
All right, so welcome back to our final part of this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've talked about some really profound concepts, I think. But now let's bring it all home. What does this mean for you listening right now?
Well, I think this deep dive has really given us a lot to consider. We think about the participant in the video and how they found strength in those kind of unexpected places. Ancient wisdom tapping techniques, those conversations with the empty chair. It shows us that when we're willing to kind of shift our perspective, we're really open ourselves up to new possibilities. Yeah, and I think what's so inspiring is that they didn't just, passively accept their situation. They took action. They sought out those tools, those practices that allowed them to find meaning in a situation that a lot of people would just say, like, oh, that's hopeless.
And, it's not just about Alzheimer's, right? This is about life. We all face challenges, whether it's a difficult diagnosis, a career setback, those curveballs life throws our way. But this participant's journey reminds us that we always have a choice in how we respond.
We can choose to kind of be swept away by that current, or we can choose to swim. And sometimes swimming means finding those unconventional life rafts, those unexpected sources of strength that help us stay afloat.
Absolutely. And, I think what's key here is remembering that within every challenge lies an opportunity to learn to grow, to develop resilience, maybe even to discover a deeper connection to ourselves and to the world around us.
And it's not to say that, we should pretend like everything's fine or ignore those difficult emotions. I mean, this participant certainly didn't. They acknowledged their anger, their grief, their moments of doubt. They allowed themselves to feel it all.
Because that's part of being human, right?
Yeah.
We experience that full spectrum of emotions. But it's about not letting those difficult emotions consume us. It's about finding healthy ways to process them, to move through them, to find that glimmer of light on the other side.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to remember that even if you're listening and Alzheimer's hasn't directly touched your life, the lessons that we've been unpacking today are really universally applicable. That search for meaning, the power of perspective, the importance of connection, those are all cornerstones of fulfilling life, no matter what challenges you face.
So as you move forward from this conversation, think about what resonated with you the most. What tools or insights will you take with you? And how can you apply these lessons to your own unique journey? Remember, you have that inner strength within you. And sometimes it just takes a little exploration, a little curiosity to tap into it.
Beautifully said. The journey itself is the teacher. Keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing, and keep choosing to see the world with those open eyes and that curious heart. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.